China has taken its dispute with Japan to the United Nations, accusing Tokyo of threatening an armed intervention over Taiwan. China's UN ambassador described remarks by Japan's Prime Minister, Sanae Takaichi, as a violation of international law and diplomatic norms. Takaichi said any attack on Taiwan would constitute a survival-threatening situation, allowing Japan to activate its self-defense forces. Well, our correspondent Jianhua has been following the story. Tell us more about what China has set out in this letter.
Well, Jamie, very strong words from the Chinese ambassador to the United Nations. Fu Tong says the Japanese Prime Minister's remarks are, in his words, erroneous and extremely dangerous. And in the letter, he also flagged several firsts. It is the first time, according to him, since 1945 that a Japanese leader has, in a formal occasion, said that a contingency for Taiwan is a contingency for Japan, linking it to collective self-defense. It's also the first time, he said, that Japan signaled ambitions to intervene in the Taiwan question. Also the first time that Japan has issued what Beijing perceives a threat of force against China. And Fu has also warned that if Japan attempts any military intervention, and China will, according to him, resolutely exercise its right of self-defense under UN Charter and international law. So far, there is no response from Japan at this point. And China's concern is mainly centered around Japan signaling sending its troops overseas for combat purposes, because after the Second World War, Japan was defeated alongside Nazi Germany, and according to its 1947 constitution, the country is forbidden from sending its troops overseas, and its self-defense forces were created in 1954, but they interpreted the constitution in the same way. The military forces could only be used for non-combat purposes within, and also for self-defense purposes and non-combat purposes within or immediately around Japanese territories. But we have seen some changes over the past decades, especially after the 1990s. In 2015, we saw the biggest shift because the Abe government passed the new security laws allowing collective self-defense, which enabled Japan to send its troops overseas to assist allies, but only in the condition that Japan's survival is at stake.
How is this diplomatic dispute affecting Asia's two largest economies?
Economy usually suffer if bilateral relations sour, and Japan and China have long had underlying tensions linked to historical grievances during the Second World War, and many experts see this episode as the most serious bilateral diplomatic crisis in decades. And usually trade bears the brunt. Japan's exports to China in 2024 stood at around $120 billion, and Beijing has already suspended some imports from Japan, notably seafood. And China says the tensions have severely damaged the trade cooperation. We'll know that Japan is also quite reliant on critical minerals from China, but we haven't seen any action at this point. Tourism is also affected. Chinese tourists are advised to avoid traveling to Japan, and it's estimated around 30% of the about 1.4 million trips planned through the end of December have been cancelled so far. And film screenings have been suspended in China, and exchange programs have also been suspended. Beijing urges citizens to reconsider studying in Japan. And today, a Hong Kong student delegation has also announced to pull themselves out of an exchange program with Japan.
Jianhua, thank you. Our correspondent Jianhua.